falling out with Queen Elizabeth II, I mean, that's pretty bad for Meghan.
I mean, imagine if this came out a few years ago, people would have been like, oh, you know, this is a planted story or whatever. But one thing we've noticed is a bit of a thread of commonality. So the whole, with Prince Harry being too in love, we know that King Charles said something about him being whipped. You know, we keep hearing things consistently coming out from courtiers and people that are close to the royal family. It's interesting sort of how, from what we've heard, the Queen's opinion of Meghan evolved, and it's much like how the country's opinion evolved. I remember actually where exactly I was when Meghan and Harry got married. It was my final year of university. I was in a giant park, and much like the public, I think, you know, the Queen thought Meghan was a breath of fresh air, very intelligent, very well spoken, obviously from her acting background, and you know, she welcomed her, I think, like much of the country, with open arms. I think where things went wrong was clearly the cultural clash, and you mentioned that with Princess Catherine and Meghan. And I think in some ways Meghan thought she was marrying a billionaire, but was marrying a millionaire with like a sort of a reduced status. So that might have been not appealing eventually. But also, I don't think she fully understood or was even interested in what the role was supposed to become. I mean, the idea that, you know, she hadn't earned enough brownie points to actually be able to choose the tour she wanted to go on in the way that she wanted to do, or curate her image in the same way. You know, most people would just be like, oh, you have to kind of have skin in the game. You have to have, I'm sorry, open schools in Wales on a rainy day for a number of years before you ingratiate yourself and garner that goodwill. But I don't think she had that approach or attitude. And you could say it's very American, you know, very can-do spirit.
It wasn't just going to be opening schools, was it?
Exactly.
You know, the Queen had this role carved out for them. She thought they'd be fantastic as her ambassadors throughout the Commonwealth, and so they were going to go all over the world, and they started off doing that, and she thought they'd be absolutely fantastic. But, you know, sadly, I have to say, I have to disagree with you. I just don't think she ever intended to stay in the royal family. I think
if she actually understood it, she definitely wouldn't have, yeah.
No, you know, so I think right from the start she was possibly planning to leave, I'm afraid, and that's my opinion now. It wasn't at first. I thought, like everyone else, I thought when she first arrived she'd be great, but I think slowly but surely over the years the evidence has mounted that she just didn't intend on staying, and she's isolated Harry from her family. From his family, and you know, now we are where we are. And
I do think Harry should take a lot of the blame, though, because if you look at William's approach to his relationship with Catherine, he was very cautious. They dated for 10 years, and I think yes, I don't doubt that William was any less in love with Catherine as Harry was with Meghan, but he understood that it's not just about him and his feelings. There's an institution and someone's life at risk as well. You are literally ushering someone into a completely different lifestyle that many people can't even fathom. And I don't think Harry had that approach. He just thought, here's this beautiful, articulate woman, I'm head over heels in love with her, I'm going to shoehorn her into this institution, and it must bend to her will because we have more cachet than they think we do. And that's the fundamental difference. I don't think necessarily she dragged him from the family. I just think Harry was very unwise. He was not a very wise person, and I don't think he chose someone who was culturally a very good fit for the institution. And in Meghan's mind, she probably just thought, actually, this isn't for me.
Political commentator Esther Krakue has made a striking statement about Prince Harry's relationship with Meghan Markle. According to her, Harry is totally whipped by Meghan, and even King Charles is well aware of it. Krakue suggests that Meghan's influence over Harry is so strong that it shapes his decisions, public image, and even his royal standing. Krakue believes that Meghan will hate the reality of Harry's reduced status within the royal family. With their exit from royal duties,
and leaving was not something that was much of a problem for her, because I don't think she had that kind of ties to it, emotional connection to the institution in the first place.
Well, she didn't live for very long, though, did she?
Oh, yeah, she did.
Yeah, but a year or two after a massive, great wedding that cost us all about £30 million. I mean, I think she could have put in at least 5 years before deciding it wasn't
Absolutely
not a year,
no, not
18
5
months.
years.
Not 18 months, you know.
Well, I've said this before. I think Harry was very much, he'd lost a couple of partners in the past because I think things had gone wrong, or the press exposure, or the pressure.
He was terrified of losing
her. I think he was, you know.
Yeah, he just wanted to lock her down.
Yeah.
And we are where we are. I mean, look, at the end of the day, they look like they were making a pretty good go of their marriage, because I suppose in their mind, they're kind of trauma bonded. It's like them against the world. Like, everyone wants to see us break up. So, like, they're just making a good go of it. But it's really unfortunate how things panned out. And I think ultimately, Harry was very unwise from the beginning, and he was a bit desperate, need I say. I think he couldn't believe his luck that he's bagged this beautiful American actress, that he was just going to do anything to keep her.
Going back to the Queen, the comments of the Queen, I mean, she was tough as old boots, the Queen. She's sat down, had, you know, dinners with dictators. She spoke to all sorts of people, had all sorts of undesirables, you know, that she's had to sit down and engage with. It takes a lot to upset her. Why would she have been so upset about Meghan's approach, do you think?
She's very, very tough, very pragmatic, but I think deep down she was, you know, she was a grandmother and, you know, she was very, very fond of Harry. I mean, I think they were extremely close and probably the two most popular royals that we had at the time. You know, I just think that she worked her whole life, you know, trying to make sure that the monarchy succeeded after her and you know, the legacy was the most important thing to her, and the Commonwealth, of course, as well. And it must have been absolutely heartbreaking for her to see, you know, A, what was happening with Prince Andrew, and B, what was happening with Harry and Meghan leaving in her final years, you know, and to cope with that as she was, you know, approaching the end and Prince Philip died and all this, you know, happened right at the end of her life, I think must have been absolutely heartbreaking for her. And I think, sadly, that is probably the thing that people won't forgive Harry and Meghan for, making her last years a bit of a misery.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned earlier about this news is only coming out now. I mean, these were conversations that happened, you know, 5 or 6 years ago. If this had come out in 2021 or 2022, the Sussexes would have come out and denied it. There would have been a huge storm. Now we kind of just go, we kind of sit back and go, oh, well, yeah, we understand that probably happened. We can believe that story, yeah. But Meghan, on her side of the coin, when she did her Netflix show, for instance, she said, or I think when she spoke to Oprah, is one of the two. I spoke to Oprah or Netflix. She's gone on record and said, I've always got on very well with the Queen. And she references the trip that they shared to Chester, where I think the Queen, the late Queen, put a little rug over her legs when they were a little bit cold. I mean, there was potential there for a bond, but it fell apart quite quickly.
Yeah.
Fun enough.
Harry's position has diminished, and with it, the privileges, access, and prestige they once enjoyed. Krakue argues this shift may cause tension behind the scenes, especially for someone as status-conscious as Meghan. What's notable, according to Krakue, is that King Charles isn't blind to the dynamic. She claims the king can see the extent of Meghan's control and understands how it impacts Harry's actions and choices. This awareness could influence how Charles approaches any future discussions or reconciliation attempts. Critics view Harry's devotion to Meghan as proof that he has lost his independence and identity.
Went up on the royal train, didn't they? I think, which we're going to talk
The royal
about,
train.
which we're going to talk about in a minute.
It's a great segue. So the royal train. Now, how do you feel about the royal train? Because I've looked at pictures of the royal train recently inside. It does look a little bit dated. It is kind of an old train. It's not like the Hogwarts Express or anything like that. It's not something that looks absolutely. It's not the Orient Express or anything like that. It's not that, you know, train of luxury. But they are getting rid of it, and it's been around for 127 years. Buckingham Palace has said that we cannot afford it anymore. They would have to spend a lot of money in 2027 just to get it back on track, so to speak. Are you sad that this institution has gone?
Not really, because I feel like it's kind of in line with where the monarchy is going as well. So we have to remember that it's quite expensive to keep it running. It's kept near Milton Keynes, and every time that they want to use it, it costs a lot of money just to getting on the train tracks. And it
costs 1.2 million roughly a year just to keep it running.
Exactly.
And they used it twice last year, and I think it was about 89,000 that it actually cost just to do these two.
And before that, it was, you know, William and Kate used it, I think, during lockdown as well.
Yeah.
And I don't think it fits really with the kind of persona that King Charles tries to put out there, especially as a green environmentalist. I mean, he has like green cars, for example, that run on biofuel. And I think this, you know, diesel guzzling giant train that they hardly use, that's not environmentally friendly. I don't think that's the image that he wants to put out of the royal family and of Prince William. Now, I do think it's sad that they're basically going to rely on helicopters.
That's right.
It's not exactly, you know, a fishing boat.
And how much is that going to cost, replacing the helicopters?
But I do think there's something to be said about, you know, just reserving a first-class train on a normal train that we all use just for the royal family. I mean, I know the Queen was very fond of it. That's the sad thing. The Queen and Prince Philip were very fond of it. And she actually had an office for herself built on the train so she could work and make the most use of her time. But I also don't think that in the era that we are in now with King Charles and Prince William, who's also very passionate about green issues, this is the right fit for them, especially how it comes across to the public. And so it's sad, but I do think it's necessary.
Supporters, however, argue it's simply loyalty to his wife and a willingness to put her needs first. Krakue's comments tap into the ongoing public debate over whether Harry is a devoted husband or a man entirely under his wife's influence. If Krakue's assessment is accurate, Meghan may struggle to accept any further reductions to Harry's role or public relevance. And as Harry's royal status continues to shrink, the dynamic between him, Meghan, and the rest of the royal family could grow even more complicated.